cloud. Welcome to this evening's talk on returning to God. Returning to God is a topic that was inspired by Spirit to me as a topic that is of very important dimensions in this particular time frame. Not that it was never in any time frame an issue for humanity. Certainly, that was a um, always a need. There was always turmoil somewhere, sometime. But as we know from multiple channels, and certainly through Michelle herself, through Casey, through the Bible, through all these sources, we know that these are particularly an era is ending and another era is beginning, and we are living that bridging time between these old going and the new coming in. So that's not news to us, but it would be news to somebody who might be looking at this later on, who has not had the advantage that we have of having had such wonderful instructions in metaphysics and the higher reason for this world to be and why we're in it. So the other word, or the other word that was given to me from Spirit, was that they're finding a lot of pessimism among humanity right now. And obviously, us living our day-to-day world, we understand that. We do hear that. And but there are also a lot of God-centered people, and they're growing in number. Those who are returning to their faith in God and the understanding that light, the forces of light, are those that which are really in charge. But the pessimistic part is confusing people, sometimes even those who have faith. They can be shaky, and this is our role, is to help people stay in that positive and stay in the Christ light that the world needs now. Um, because the world is in the middle of a great purge of the past, the sins of corruption, greed, and deliberate manipulation of the world's population to believe, making them believe that there was nothing they could do to correct any injustices. So that's all leaving. It's being shown up to us of what they are, and they are being taken away. But it takes time. Many grew up, unfortunately, in later, I am from a much older generation, but I know that there was a time frame where um, the conditions for their growing up changed over time. And those people are having a particularly difficult time. The parenting in the past decades, since the 60s and the 70s kind of time frame, became more permissive, and a greater segment of the population really had issues of family structures being falling apart, and which of course affected the children. And they weren't given the guidance, many of them were not given the guidance to understand their connection to the divine. Very often, the simple basics of doing good and avoiding evil were not there for some of these children. And those, I think, are the people who are particularly suffering right now, because there's a faith that was imbued in us when we were growing up from an older generation was not as strong, and in some families. Those who continued the journey of staying in the faith, teaching their children to be God centered and having the family intact, certainly are reaping the wonderful rewards of that now, because they are strong in their faith. They are strong centered in the positive end of things in this world. And it is our role to keep each other uplifted. And I think that this is going on in the world in great ways. But to find the discouragement, or the people who are finding a bit pessimistic, it's important that we also remember them, to strengthen their faith, to keep them up above the fray, or to even pick them up if they weren't there in the first place. So, finding one's way through all of these challenges um, are difficult without a deep spiritual understanding and beliefs. So we don't want to leave them afloat. And I wanted to share a little something that Michelle, I created because Michelle taught this. I'm not sure it's exactly from her, but this holistic understanding of self, that we are actually higher creative intelligence. This is who we really are. We are spiritual beings who came into a physical form. And the combination, of course, gives you the human being. And the influences for every single human being are these, particularly these three areas. As she said, there is nothing we can do about our genetics. That was predetermined before we came in because our soul chose where it needed to express itself in this lifetime and wanted to, so that it could grow, it could make up for things from their past that maybe weren't quite right, which we call karma, and also to grow positively, kind of, create new ground for creative expression. So the genetics are not something that we can do anything about at this point. We were aware of that before we came in, and but right now that's nothing to change. The early conditioning is also something that is unchangeable from anybody's perspective because it's already happened. Going back to some of the early conditioning that the varieties of early conditioning that happened for different people, children across the planet, were very much more in line with the cultural and the understanding of the family structures and all of that, or the lack of structure, as I just alluded to before. So all of that had influenced how our view of life, how we think the world works, and how well we think of ourselves and our and relationships to other people. So that early conditioning was pretty strong. But what we have left is our lifestyle choices. And this we are entirely responsible for. Lifestyle choice means all the choices were made. We have a free will, and we are given that as a gift to being here on the planet to make different choices. So we don't have to follow our early conditioning unless if we can find a better way of doing it, we can choose differently. So our lifestyle choices of whether it be for the physical form, as Michelle said, you have to make good choices there so you maintain your physical form that you have been given. This remember when you come into from a higher plane of higher creative intelligence and you inhabit a lower form, which is still a beautiful form, but one that doesn't have the same elevated status that your higher creative intelligence has. Its own form has its own beauty and its own strengths. All of that belongs there, but we have to have that the division between those two. The higher always controls the lower. So we have to maintain. We've been given a body that we were asked to maintain, and in our maintenance of that body, is part of our spiritual understanding of what we were responsible for in the world. And I don't think that people who do a lot of exercises and diet and think, they're thinking more along how good can I look. Really, it's also you could elevate that if you would think of it being such a gift to have a body that we have. Minute we inhabit it, we elevate the status of the body and it becomes a temple. We hear this, the body is a temple. This is literally true from the spiritual standpoint. It is a temple, you're housing. It's the house in which we are driving through life in. And this vehicle that we've been given is now sacred. This is sacred ground that we have created because we have a physical form. And for the very reason that we have been given that opportunity, it is for us to think in a higher level from taking care of the physical body, would be to think of it as being sort of a something that we made a promise. One of our agreements was, I'm going to take care of this form now. Whatever I get, I'm going to take care of because it's special. I'm going to have my life expressed this way. So I'm going to take care of it. So maybe that would help people do some of the realignments that they have to make with their diet, exercise, and kind of things that they're doing to take care of their physical body. I don't think that's ever really come into play. At least I don't remember it being taught in any of the improvement courses that come along, but it would certainly maybe inspire people to be a little bit more attentive to their own physical needs while you're here. But the soul is there, and the soul is inhabiting it the entire time that we are here on the planet. So we have, let me go over here and get this up here. So that we have that body and soul relationship. And that duality that we have each of these systems have their own rules and regulations, as Michelle taught over and over again, and as we teach over and over again. And it's important that we understand how each of these systems has to be maintained in order to have a life that is going to be productive and meaningful. Now, we started off by saying about returning to God. Where is God? The people, we know from our training how we relate to this, those who are present here this evening. But those who have come upon the questioning, even if there is a God, this is maybe something that we can help them with if they choose to take a look at this. And where is God? God is not outside of self only. People, I think, have this concept from strange things that they've learned along the way. It's in a universal thing out there somewhere in the universe, or it's a, what we saw when I grew up, the old man sitting on a cloud, which I was not aware was not true at the time. And it wasn't until I learned more about true meaning of life through Michelle and through other teachings of like Sir Edgar Casey and such that I found out that no, God is, the Bible said God is, everything is within. You have to go within for all of your needs are within you. And it took a while before I could make that connection between God not being on the cloud and what it meant to have an internal God. There cannot be anything else but that. We are a product of our own God self, a creator. We are created by our divine self, which is the perfect image of the creator of all. That I am presence is the true spiritual side of ourselves. That's our pure self at the very highest level. And some people call it the soul. So I don't think we should quibble with words. If people want to call it the soul, I'm okay with that. But the soul is not that. The soul is a construct of the I am presence and has a function. But we see it more in that line of being a soul, it's fine. God is the soul, and the soul created us. The soul is in every single cell in our body. You cannot look at, is there a God? If you are alive, there is a God because you are still here. And it is very evident if anybody has ever seen someone die, that the essence of them leaving the body it's profound to see the difference the moment they leave from the moment, and what is left is a shell. It's an inanimate, it's no longer that person. That animated, that in that body is no longer there. It has gone. It's gone on. So it's important to know that those who are seeking God, or those who need to seek God, that God is nowhere else but within yourself. And it is your own creator within you to be in contact with. So it's like when we are coming into the body, God, we, our own higher self animates the body that we go into. The baby doesn't breathe until the soul is there. Sometimes, as Michelle said, the soul is there a bit ahead of time before the first breath. But certainly at the first breath, there's a soul there present, animating that form. And so you kind of get into the driver's seat when you come into a body, and you have this free will and this unique place, this earth. It's the best. Your best life is lived when you put yourself entirely in the hands of your creator so that you can drive this vehicle through life according to a higher plan that your creator expects. Where soul sent us in with expectations. Some people call them contract. The expectation of why that soul came in, they're different for everyone. Not everybody has the same expectations of them because there are different requirements that each of us have from our own soul to make the mark in this lifetime. So it's very different for everybody, but that is given to us because when we get in there and we are putting God in charge of our life and we are aware of that, we are allowing God to be in the driver's seat. And if you've ever, I don't know, I used to have many dreams about driving. I think this may be true from a lot of people. You find yourself in a car, and then either you're in the driver's seat or you're next to the driver's seat. And the really worst part you can be is in the back seat because something else is driving you and you are kind of going along for the ride, but you're not really, in charge of your own life. So it's important that people would, if you want to start looking at your dreams, especially the driving dreams, what position do you have in the car? And if you are driving, who else is in the car with you? Because those are influences on your life that are represented by people, but they are the characteristics of the people that are driving you, not them, but the characteristics in you of these people are driving you in this particular day and this particular situation. So it's very interesting. I like to think of the uh, God being in charge. I want to either have God in charge of the driving or me and the driver, I mean, in the seat next to him because I'm going along with it, or I want to be in the driver's seat with God next to me, coaching me along the way. So that's how I'm seeing uh, the whole dream situation. Hopefully, you'll find yourself in a good position in that dream if you're looking to see how things are going in your life. Um, Thinking about dreams, you could ask going before you go to bed if you could get some sort of an indication, and if the driver's dream comes in for you, it's a direct response from God to let you know how you're doing and where you are in all of these things. So, um, the other thing about life and looking for God is, being in charge of our life, we are always hoping that we are in line with God's will. What drove it, the superior part of ourselves, the higher creative mind, I want that to be my everyday mind. And my prayer and my drive in life is that that happens. So everything I do is hopefully guided by that. Am I in that alignment? Um, because we get to have a lot of insight. There will be insight there because you will be directly guided once you get in charge in line with your own divine self, your creator self within you. you'll be getting better messages, more guidance in how to live the life in a better way so that you can overcome these different obstacles that come at us, to challenge us and to show that we can grow and all of that. But it will also give us a better understanding. Um, a lot of people deal with, who are not as aware, probably, but deal with assumptions about life and assumptions about other people. And so I'm just was thinking the other, when I was putting this together, I was thinking, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, you know what? I when I was young and I was a young nurse and, in very different situations in private life, in my professional life, um, the red rimmed, watery eyed old guy that I would see were, um, I assumed that they were exclusively alcoholics or heavy drinkers, because that was my experience at the time. When I would see them, I would notice that, and I think, I know from my nursing that that's their problem. So I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing these red eyes and watery. And I'm thinking, this is dry eye syndrome I have, and it's afflicting me, and it can get really bad. And I'm sure, I hope that nobody else is judging the that I might be having a different problem than I'm actually having. Um, because my understanding when I was younger was limited, and with the knowledge, it was incomplete. I didn't see the whole picture. And it was very inaccurate for me to be judging people because I was looking at their eyes and having a few people have those eyes and then assume that everybody with them. Now, that's known as flawed logic. Logic is, to say, oh, every time I see these people with these eyes, they are alcoholics. Therefore, you have those eyes. Therefore, you are an alcoholic. That's flawed logic. And it would be good, I think, if at some stage, I would hope that in high school or someplace, and maybe they're teaching it now, that the young people would be taught how to look at things logically. Because there's a course in logic. I took it when I was in college. It was part of the philosophy end of things. My minor was philosophy, and I had that ethics and logic and a few other things that were related to that. But it was very interesting. I thought that was a very interesting course to see how you can come to conclusions based on correct logic. And there are things that people fly right by and is making assumptions with flawed logic, and they don't realize it. Um, so that would help to put things in perspective, to go within and say, God, direct my life so that I can have greater understanding, so that I have greater ability to see into things, so that I don't go to flawed logic and have alignment with things that are not correct, because I've limited myself in some manner, shape, or form. Praying that you are getting better information, praying always that you are in that area where God can produce the truth for us, because it does come to us. Truth seekers usually are also God-centered people. And that gives us the alignment with God in faith that God is in charge. And if the greater number of people, citizens, would have faith, a firm faith in God, I believe there would be a zero possibility of failure here at home or in the world scene altogether. Because regardless of what this appearance is in life, God's divine plan for this earth and humanity will come to pass. And that does take faith now in order for us to have faith in God. So people are hopefully being invited to step into the light now of that awareness. And this will help your own soul make progress, the progress that the soul wanted to make in this lifetime. It's important. That's why we're here, to make progress. So we are looking at how we are structured. And I have another, this I made up based on Michelle's, how everything was, what we learned. And I did this one production here for the nurses when I was working. And this is how we, about stress. This certainly is a stressful world, and our ability to handle stress, as I said, comes from the early genetics, the early conditioning, and our lifestyle choices, because that gives us our attitudes, our values, and our perceptions. That was a strong message from Michelle and how important it was to have everything lined up correctly, to understand ourselves better, so that we have better attitudes about ourselves and our world and our people in it, that our values are high, that we keep high values and expect higher performance within ourselves. And then our perceptions of people, just as I said before, when you're not making any quick decisions about somebody's status because of your uninformed situation that we're in. So those kind of understandings, again, that would be well for people to understand that. How is God relating to us? God is relating to us in so many ways in our life, so that when you give God the opportunity to be in your life, you realize that God is speaking to you at all times. There is, I don't know if you're aware of this, there is a constant stream of verbiage that is given to us. Constant. It doesn't stop. It's information about our thing. It's all kind of thing. It's sometimes it's very mundane. It's giving you things you already know, but it's a dialogue from our higher self through our mind at all times. That really, when I found that out one day, it was like, wow, um, I don't hear enough of that because you get distracted by this world and you don't really understand that you're but this is the influence that is coming through from our higher self, and it is there all the time. Now, again, I think the ideal for helping people to understand that God is within at all times, you want to go there at any given time. You're going to also remember that you have a setup sort of within yourself that allows you to that allows God to speak in many different ways. It's not just the constant flow through your mind. When we come in, our spirit has to connect to the physical form, and it connects through the central nervous system. And the central nervous system, as you all know, is the chakra system, which most people today know about, and that there are majorly seven. There are more, but we were taught around the seven. And Michelle's unique teaching was that some of these have like a barbell effect. They have two functions. There are two things like pancreas and spleen. They have different functions, and um, solar plexus and the adrenal were together. Most of the older systems don't understand that, but that was given directly from higher awareness through Michelle so that we would understand that. The reason for those chakras are for the communication between God and ourselves. It always comes in through the nervous system. And that's how important the nervous system is in the body. That the root, we must be grounded and secured in this plan, in our embodiment. Um, the next chakra, the pancreas spleen, to maintain the maintenance of our physical form. Those who are suffering from, Michelle said a lot of people, probably not everybody, probably there are many other reasons for being, but a lot of people who have diabetes, especially early on in life rather than later. The later ones are more from lifestyle choices, but the pancreas affliction in the younger people who come in with it usually is a karmic situation geared to a life of maintaining the physical form, because the pancreas needs that insulin and you have to maintain yourself in your diet and pay attention. It becomes from an abuse in another lifetime of the body where we didn't pay attention. So I'm sure everybody has done both of those things. If not in this lifetime, I'm sure it's been covered in some lifetimes. So that the pancreas, the maintenance of the physical form is there. The spleen was all about rejuvenation and recycling. Adrenal, solar plexus. The adrenal is always about fight and flight, releasing, protecting, discerning. That's if you have the chakra that is related to the pituitary in the Michelle's Creative Wellness Program, that would be the psychic, where you have the third eye and the adrenal connected. That's the discernment part. The solar plexus is always about creation, transforming, creating. Now, those lower three are three that stay with the world at the earth. They are three lower chakras that are where karma lives, and any abuses in the past or any misformations and all that, that it really does live there for the earth plane. Because when we die, we lift from the heart up, and the thymus is the great synthesizer and the love center in the body. And I understand that the seat of the soul is in the heart chakra, and it is where we meet our divine creator self. This is where in meditation I like to start going to the heart and starting from the heart, because you have the threefold flame on the altar there, and the end of the silver cord is connected there. So you want to go to the heart. There is an altar there. This lives there, and we always have a great meditation coming from the heart. The thyroid, of course, is to choose the will. This is a great gift to us. It's one of those double-edged swords. We have to choose right. And the pituitary, our psychic opening of the third eye, once everything else is in alignment. And the God chakra, as Michelle said, the crown chakra belongs to God. So that's our pineal, or the crown chakra. It's very important to know that we are communicated with not just through the nervous system, through the glandular system, and through the neuroendocrine, the neuroendocrine system. But there is the system that has to do with the immune system. All of the centers within ourselves are responsive to promptings that are coming in. If we are doing our good job of keeping ourselves in line with our own divine center, grounding, doing our prayers and meditation, and doing maintenance on our body, we're going to be in a much better place to have a relationship with God that is going to be very enlivening. It's going to give us the right place forward, so that we can understand that God is there. We can understand that God is in charge. And the light that we have, the light that we carry within ourselves from our own I am center, from our God self, from our soul, is important in transforming the world around us. And this is one of the reasons we're here, one of the reasons to get in touch with the great creator within. So you do that by quieting. I think a lot of people are engaged in too much internal talk and too much external talk, too much interaction in the world, and forgetting that the real action really is within. So you quiet yourself. You this you set your intention. You're intending to go within to contact God center within yourself, your creator. And you're directing your mind and your energy there. And as you're breathing deeply and closing your eyes, you're becoming at peace with yourself, and you begin an imagination process where you put yourself in a beautiful environment where I know you continue to breathe, you enjoy yourself there, get very peaceful, and wait. It is a intense attunement, alignment. I say you're sitting and listening, but you could be just sitting and being very aware on all your senses, which is the true meditation stance. You're not speaking, you're waiting on God to communicate. And whether anything ever comes in or not that you're aware of, it's always important to know you have made great progress by the effort. Your effort is important. That's as important as actually getting anything. Getting anything isn't the point. It is faith that you have this connection, faith that you are actively waiting, and the imprints that are able to be given to us in that position that we put ourselves in complete openness to God within ourselves, completely like a child, willing to sit and wait for anything and wait on God, is a great gift back to our own creator from ourselves. This is a great success, a great spiritual advancement. So it's important, if we can remember to not just pray and hope, which is always important, that's part of the package, but also to be aware that you have a technique to become close, to get settled within yourself, to ease all of your stresses, because in the quietness of that moment with God, waiting on God, it's complete peace. And only when you find that you can get to complete inner peace, can you begin to really, truly heal. So those who are working on their healing, the part that we do with our meditation is so important in the healing process, because that is the time when actual healing, that I have been told that actual healing takes place from the pinpoint place where you are at complete peace within yourself. When enough people have that complete inner sense of peace, I think that's a great place where the world can start going to peace. People have to find the peace within themselves before they're going to find peace outside of themselves. This centeredness, unshakable belief, and the kind of alignment you have with God is very strong, it's very powerful, and it's very instrumental in this time in bringing about the change where the divine plan is placed into motion. So it's important that we stay positive. It's so important right now. Give yourself positive statements. If you are finding yourself talking in negative form, because a lot of us have learned that negative thinking and dialogue with ourselves and criticizing ourselves very severely, some more than others, but there is an encouragement, internal encouragement that is being blessed by God if you can get to the positive part because this is where God wants us each to be, in a positive relationship to ourself and our understanding of ourselves. So it is the place to go to make sure that we have affirmations that are positive, that we can go to. The 3 healer affirmations that is on our website of Faith, Hope, and Charity is powerful. It is aligning ourselves with our divinity, is aligning every energy center in our body. It is something that can enfold you in such protection because it's built that way. Faith, hope, and charity are really, truly the 3 healers. So finding those good, positive statements to make, and then it brings us out to the world. If we can start thinking positively, the world around us, we will be able to see the good in the world. And there is so much good in the world that we need to acknowledge. What we acknowledge, we get more of, as you know. It is the rule of the universe, as what we put out or what we perceive, we get back, we get more of it. So we want to have that in our lives so that we can make our life easier for ourselves. So it's important that we go there and bring a source of goodness back in our lives. We have so much capacity to make change and to make change for the better. There will be more challenges in life, to be sure. And this cycle isn't over. There may be another 6 to 10 years of something that's always rumbling somewhere and happening. But you exercise your spiritual muscles by going through these periods and maintaining yourself in a positive relationship to what is happening, and find out how to be more creatively positive in your life. This is a very great place where spiritual advancement happens. So being more creative in a positive way that builds and brings more good into the world is the critical need in the world now. The light that is in you needs to manifest in so many different, and you can manifest it in so many different ways. Because remember, the light of God never fails. So my message to the world would be to cheer up and realize that God has never left you. That would be impossible. God is in every cell of your body and in your soul. You are a product of your Creator. So there are beings of greater manifestation of light who have greater authority and they're operating on much higher frequencies than we have yet attained. That's an army of light that is out there supporting us and actually is in control of the world. This period that we see as being, is it never going to end, is a short period, is times of eternity, but this is going to work through. And those light beings are in charge. And light always wins over darkness. So our participation in the light of God's presence within guarantees success. The presence of God in you is your immortal soul. Remember that. Join in with all of those who claim their God presence and celebrate the light that is the world and all that is in it. I'd like you to consider this as a point of contemplation and meditation, because this was given to me a number of months ago. I suddenly heard, why don't you consider that there is nothing but light? That would give you a nice point of meditation, a nice way to go into contemplation. Because remember, difficulties really that have existed on the planet have been man-made. They're not, God did not design that. And sometimes the universe does create a disturbance in the earth to help humanity to see the necessity to change and find God. that's part of a divine plan for this earth. And the earth itself needs to be restored from the variety of abuses inflicted by humans over centuries. And I would like to leave you with a prayer. I'm going to give you this affirmation, but I'd like to leave you with this prayer. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God is always there. And wherever you are, God is. So the positive affirmation that we have had on our website number of years ago would be something that you might consider taking a thought about. I am a being of higher design. I pray that I manifest all the good within me in everything I do and think and say. I think that's a little bit in line with the three healers. So I thought we could do a brief meditation and bring our alignment back into our God presence. So if you would close your eyes and begin your deep breathing. Just relax where you are and continue to breathe and allow anything that you have had in your life around you, just let it go. It's going to be there when you get out of the meditation. So just let it go for now. And breathing, with every breath you take, you're able to go deeper and deeper within. You might see yourself getting up out of your chair in your mind's eye. Just getting up and going to your front door. And when you open the door, there is a path that takes you to your heart, the center of your heart. And that can be any place and anything that you find to be particularly loving, beautiful, charming, comforting, safe, all of the things that would go into a most loving presence that would pull itself around you. It can be indoors, outdoors, it can be a structure or none. It doesn't matter. But go to your heart. Find the beauty there. Find all of the loveliness of the universe is there. Your heart is part of the universal heart of everything. And when you walk in, what are you struck by? It's the scent, the sounds, the beauty of the visions of beautiful things. Using your imagination and using the heart as the most important place to go to. You find yourself in such alignment and peace. Everything there reminds you of the most wonderful time in your life. It reminds you of a wonderful home. It reminds you of wonderful people. It just is elevating, embracing you, and the atmosphere filled with palpable love. You feel your heart kind of flutter a little bit yourself because this place is exquisite. And you find walking around, you realize that there is a path that goes directly to the center of this beautiful place where there is an altar. And you find yourself in front of this massively beautiful altar. And there is a golden tabernacle. And there, behind that golden tabernacle, is your threefold flame and the end of your silver cord that goes directly from your heart to the heart of your Creator. The direct line. There is your Creator. And you bow before God. And you communicate with that divine presence. And you wait, sitting in the presence of your divine self. You wait with expectation. And now you begin to come back. You're still in your heart. You have been communicating with your divine creator within. The importance here is the time spent in anticipation. You're still at the altar, and you thank God for this opportunity to communicate and to be present, fully present. You ask for the blessings that you need for this day, for this week, for this lifetime, to continue your journey, and ask for the angelic help to be increased if you need it, or to thank the angels as you stand before God for all of your assistance that you were given. And when you're ready, you turn and you go out the door or the pathway, go to the pathway you took to get there. It leads you back to your front door. And as you put your hand on the knob to turn the knob, you begin to reintegrate, coming from a higher sense of yourself at a different level of frequency, bringing yourself back into the three-dimensional world that we live in every day. And by the time you reach your seat, you're back, you're present with the company of lovely people here this evening. You've come back with peace. You've come back with healing. You've come back with so much your divine self wanted to give you. This journey can be accompanied by music if you are doing that for yourself at home. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes silence is best, because it's just your inner experience that counts. It's what helps you get there that's important. Take time every day, just for a few minutes, more if you have time, to communicate with your own creator. And now I think we'll direct you to our PayPal at our website. And if you would care to make a donation so that we can continue our work here presenting, although we are only online, we are making more progress now to bring more information out. We would appreciate that. And instead of ending with "Let there be peace on earth," I thought we'd end with our prayer for peace, featuring the Buddha Boys, as we call them. Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.